You're listening to Creatives Prevail, unraveling the stories of creative professionals.
Hey Mia, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. I am so excited to have you on the show. We were talking about before. I've been, your socials have constantly been coming on my feed, especially because I'm in the music industry. But also too, when I started seeing covers of like Power Rangers and Pirates of the Caribbean, I'm like, oh, okay, this person at some point in time I'm gonna have on the show. And then it happened where you were performing at NAMM and I was going to be at NAMM as well. And I thought, you know what? Why not? And I want to just start this interview with that fact of how much I appreciate you and your team, because you almost immediately responded back when I asked you. And that meant the world to me, especially because you have such a large following now, and I'm sure it gets a lot of requests, that it really did resonate with me of how quickly you responded. And also to put the prefaces of, you should reach out to anybody these days. If you want to do something with somebody else, whether it's be a guest on a podcast or a collaboration, whatever the case is, no matter how popular you may think they are or how big they are, you should take the chance and reach out, because you never know what's going to come out of it.
100%. That I actually am usually so busy that I don't have a lot of time to do like interviews and podcasts and stuff. But your email was really genuine and wonderful, and I love everything that you stand for and
Thank
that you're
you.
doing here. So yeah, so it came at the perfect time, and now here we are. So yay.
I really appreciate that. And I mean, you can tell that you are so passionate about what you do. And I noticed that your family comes from a musical background as well. Was that, I assume, your influence into performance?
Yeah, I was given the choice when I was like 5 years old. I started playing violin when I was 5, and I was given the choice of violin, guitar, or piano, and I ended up choosing violin. And I have my parents are musicians, but not professionally. It's more of like a hobby. But I would go to sleep every night growing up listening to my dad play George Gershwin songs on the piano, because that's he only plays Gershwin. Because his mom was the piano professor at the University of Puget Sound in
Oh, wow.
Washington. She was amazing. So she ended up playing like this entire Gershwin Rhapsody in Blue symphony, like with the orchestra there. So she's incredible. So yeah, so they gave me the choice. I chose violin, and I like to say that I chose correctly because I did. And now here we are 20 years later, and I still am playing the violin. So I'm really glad that I didn't choose any other instrument.
Which is amazing to think about, right? Because out of those three, violin, guitar, piano are usually what I like to call the introductory instruments, right? Because they're, because of the fact that you could, especially the piano, right, is something that's visual. It's a C instrument. Yeah. So it's a lot easier to get acclimated to music, to reading music, and then you can apply that knowledge to other instruments. But you started off right off the bat with violin. So I'll give you a lot of credit for that fact.
Thank you. I like to joke that they get you started early with violin because it takes you so long to stop sounding terrible that by the time you've been playing for like 10 years, you're like 15 years old, and then you can start looking at colleges and you're decent. So that's what happened to me. But I wish I'd actually had a foundation in piano and guitar, because it ended up hurting me later on not knowing chords, because I only knew the violin as a melody instrument. And so then in college, I had to learn like a harmony and chords and how all of that works and how that fits together. And my ear is still not really trained for that. It's trained as like a melody instrument. So it's very interesting. Wait, what instrument do you play?
Oh, I not much anymore, but I started off on piano, and then
Okay.
I like to joke that I couldn't take the piano with me to band practice, to band or orchestra. So my mother played the clarinet, my father played the trumpet, and because they come
Nice.
from, again, not professional, but they met in band, so
Aww.
they come from a music background, and so when it came time for me to select an instrument, I tried the clarinet and tried the trumpet, and then I liked the trumpet, so I went to that instrument, and then was jazz trained on the trumpet all through college. So
Nice. Okay.
yeah. So
That's
I
very
mean,
cool.
music is always going to be close to my heart. I wish I didn't have the ability to really go to a professional level, but
Mhm.
I love playing. So I even tried to pick up the trumpet like a year or two ago, and I just don't have the chops anymore. It's so terrible.
Trumpet's a
But
hard one.
Trumpet's a tough one. I do have like a little keyboard though, so I like to still play keys here and there. I like to keep the piano up to date. That's for sure.
I think that's a good one. Like of all the instruments, I think that one's the most important one to play because you can literally see all the notes and how everything fits together. So whatever,
Yeah,
maybe one day
absolutely.
I'll learn.
You should, because then not only will you learn chords, but then also too, especially for recording purposes, especially these days, if you have
Yeah.
a synth, you can do so much with it, right? I mean,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
you can even record yourself playing violin and then associate it with different keys and do all kinds of crazy stuff with it. So I think that's what I like about playing the piano is that it, especially these days, gives you the ability to do all kinds of really interesting things with the instrument that most other instruments are a lot more challenging to be able to do that.
Yeah, 100%. So that's why I started violin when I was young, and now I'll take up piano in my old age.
There you go. So you mentioned about college because you went to Berkeley, right? As a double
I
major.
did a double major in violin performance and professional music with concentrations in business and songwriting. It was a really long
Wow.
major.
So wait, so business as well. So did you know at that point in time that this is what you wanted to do as a career?
Yes, I've wanted to do this as a career since I was 13 years old. Uh, I had been playing violin like classically up until that point, and then I discovered electric violin in at the end of middle school, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is what I have to do for the rest of my life." So, I'd been pursuing this with everything that I had ever since that age, and I took every gig that I could find, and became like the fashion show violinist of Denver, and it was really cool. So then by the time I got to Berkeley, I was like, well, okay, obviously I want to get better at the violin. I almost went to a different school where I would have just majored in pop music. And I decided on Berkeley because I wanted to be a very well rounded musician and not just focus on one genre. And so I decided to attend. And while I was there, when you're a performance major, it's really good if you want to just play your instrument all the time and study with a professor. However, if you only do that, you don't really take any like business classes. And to me, being a musician is as much about being an entrepreneur as it is about playing music, at least for what I'm trying to do, which is contemporary music. So I really wanted a business degree as well. And so Berkeley has this major called professional music, where you basically can kind of build your own major and choose like up to three majors to focus on. And you take a bunch of classes in each department. And you can have one of your concentrations in professional music be performance, but then you don't get as many semesters of private lessons. And I came into Berkeley with a year of credits under my belt already. And so I was like, well, instead of doing one major in 4 years, I'll do a double major in 4 years. Because normally that's a 5 year degree. And so I just jammed it all into 8 semesters and went viral about 3 quarters of the way through. So I was working full time and I was doing school full time and I ended up graduating. And also the pandemic happened at the same time, also. So then I was really tired.
That is a lot.
It's a
Wow.
lot.
So
I told you I talk a lot.
no. Meaning that no. That meaning specifically that was a lot happening all at the same time because you were a double major,
Yeah.
which alone that's a lot of coursework. But you're also working full time,
Yeah.
and then of course you mentioned about the pandemic. But then on top
Yeah.
of that, you went viral during that time frame for
Yeah.
posting on social media. So first of all, when did that come into the equation for you as far as posting on social media was concerned? Was that like a plan of yours that you wanted to try to build yourself as an influencer, or you were doing it for fun? Like, how did that start?
So the story is coming out of high school, I thought I was such a big shot, cool guy. And, I was doing all these gigs and I just felt like so cool. And, like big fish, small pond situation. But even though it was more like a medium pond in Colorado, because I went to an arts school. So I left and I was like, I want to be famous. That's all I care about. I don't care how I become famous. I just like I'll do it because of violin. But that was kind of my goal. And I was like, okay, music is fine, but I want to perform. Like performing is what I love. So I enter Berkeley, and a lot of difficult things occurred. And I got humbled really quickly there because when you're at a school like that, everyone there is as good as you or better. And it was very humbling for my 17, 18-year-old self. But I needed that because, like, I don't know, like high school ego is stupid. So I got humbled really fast. I realized I'm not as good as I thought I was. And but some I was going through like kind of a not so good time in my personal life. And so instead of it inspiring me to work harder, it kind of shut me down. And instead of being like, oh, I'm gonna practice and become good at music, I went the other way and I was like, I hate music and I hate myself and I'm never gonna be good enough and I don't know if I want to do this. And so I ended up going to Spain because Berkeley has like a study abroad program out there. And I studied there for a few months and I studied flamenco and jazz. And it was very isolating because it was a very small program, but I also traveled every weekend. I went all over the world and I really kind of found myself again. And literally, like, it broke me down, like everything I thought I knew about myself and everything I thought I wanted from music. And I was able to rebuild myself out there, go on this incredible spiritual musical journey and realize that what's important to me is not being famous or being seen by a lot of people. What's important to me is playing music that I love with people that I love. And that was such a healthy realization to come to. And I was able to kind of do away with these childhood fantasies of the spotlight. And so I came back to Boston after that, because this is Berkeley and Boston, not Berkeley and California. And so I came back to Boston and I was ready to go. I was like, I'm going to say yes to every opportunity. I'm going to stop hiding. I'm going to stop doubting myself. I'm going to try and just take every opportunity I can and get better. And so I ended up joining like 11 bands and I was thriving. And then the pandemic hits and everything shuts down and everything that I was building was suddenly just on hold. And I was like, oh no, like what am I going to do? And I decided that I wasn't going to let this hold me back from my goals. And so I started learning how to edit videos, how to record and mix my own audio. And I started doing a lot of like remote recording sessions while doing school online. And so I was in like a chamber quartet and I start making videos because you can't rehearse a string quartet over Zoom. It just doesn't work. So we start making videos together and I just say I take on all these remote recordings. And that's how I learned the foundations of what later would become what I do on TikTok. Uh, so then comes my first ever big endorsement. And I was very excited. And as soon as I got it, I realized I'm not good enough. And that same like imposter syndrome came back. And I was like, I don't deserve this. I'm not good at rock. I'm not a good musician. Like, blah, 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 blah. You know, what we all tell ourselves. So I was really sitting with that for a while. And I was going through another really hard time in my life, as all of us were because of COVID. And so I was watching like a lot of Mel Robbins at the time because I love her and she's like does a lot of self-help talk and she was saying that you should write down like whatever energizes you, you need to write it down right away so that you don't lose that momentum. And so I got this idea because TikTok was the big thing at the time. And I was like, what if I do the TikTok trends but on electric violin? And so I wrote it down on a sticky note that I still have. I have it right here. And it says, brilliant idea. Do the TikTok trends on electric violin. Find a way.
That is so
and
cool.
I put it on my wall. It's so silly. But I put it on my wall and I was like, you know what? Like, I haven't played music that I love in such a long time because all I've been doing here at Berkeley has been trying to impress other musicians and trying to be a jazz violinist and trying to do all these things with the wrong intentions, which was the same thing that happened in high school. My intentions were not pure because I wanted to be famous. That's why I was doing things. And then at Berkeley, I wanted to impress other people. Like, it was all for external validation. And I was like, you know what? Let's do some internal validation here. Say hi to my cat.
Hi. What's your cat's name?
Esme,
your cat's name?
short for Renesmee, because I love Twilight.
Oh, that's awesome.
She's French. She was born on Bastille Day.
Anyway,
Oh, wow. So internal validation. So I was like, okay, I'm going to play music that I love. And that for me is pop, rock, metal, and Celtic music. So I start like making these little videos on TikTok and just posting, myself playing electric violin over whatever pop song is trending on TikTok that day. And within 3 days, I had a video go viral. And I remember going like shopping with a friend that night. And like by the time I got home, it had like 2 million views. And I woke up the next morning with 100,000 followers on TikTok. And that video now has 10 million views, uh, even more on other platforms. And it was this crazy experience because what it taught me is that once you start being authentic to yourself, then everything that you are working towards is ready for you, and the universe will give it back to you. And so, when my intentions were not as wholesome, I didn't experience the success that I was seeking. And then once I let go of all of that and just started being true to myself, uh, then everything that I dreamed of in high school was gifted to me overnight, which is crazy because I thought I'd be working my entire career towards that number. And now the number is more like 5 million followers across platforms, and I have tens of millions of views or maybe like hundreds of millions at this point. And it's been a crazy ride. And I've gotten to collaborate with every artist I've ever been inspired by. And I live in LA now and I do music full time. So, but it all happened because I started being authentic and true to myself again, and I stopped doing everything to impress other people.
I cannot be more appreciative of your story because that is something that every single creator needs to hear.
Agreed.
And I preach this all the time, but it's very different coming from me in comparison to somebody like yourself who actually has now gone to this level. And I totally agree with you. It has to come from authenticity first. It has to come from a good place. And you took the time to find where that place is for yourself.
It was really hard. Like, self-care isn't like glamorous, like face masks and a walk on the beach. You have to do that really hard work and, ask yourself those tough questions and come to like a reckoning with yourself. It doesn't happen overnight. And then it happens overnight. But it's like long years of work and then it happens overnight.
No, yeah. I mean, that's the thing is that it might have happened overnight because so here's the thing, right? Is that sure, it happened quote unquote overnight on TikTok, but you, like you said, you had to be in the right place to accept that.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing is that great, you had one video go viral. I've seen that happen a number of times. To keep that momentum going,
yeah,
and to build off of that,
yeah,
that's a totally different story.
That's a very good point. And I remember at the beginning, like telling myself that I said, you have to like follow this and see where it can take you, and you can't like lose this momentum because you have this one shot, and this is your opportunity. Now I feel like I'm just quoting Eminem. But it was true. And so I said, okay, like, let's do whatever it takes to keep this going. And I'm very fortunate because a lot of artists and creators do kind of fall off after their one viral moment. But for whatever reason, well, I know the reasons, but for a lot of different reasons, I've been able to maintain the momentum, and it's only gotten bigger and better as time has gone on. And then I was able to translate it to real life performing, which is actually way more important to me than TikTok and social media. Social media is a wonderful tool, but it could go away anytime, and it does apparently. So I knew early on, like, this isn't going to be around forever. What will be around forever is my music and my artistry. So how can I channel this into something that will last a lifetime? And so I'm working on it still, but I was able to move a lot of stuff onto like releasing full covers on Spotify and things like that, and that's given a lot of longevity to what I do. Because like TikTok went away for 12 hours, and then I was like, well, I just lost 2.5 million followers, so I'm glad that I diversified and put stuff on other platforms this whole time.
Absolutely, because I know you have a strong following on Instagram as well, so I'm glad that you diversified. And also the other thing too I noticed is that I saw that you've been transitioning a lot of your work too, where yes, you still incorporating what people, your fans know you for, which is the cover videos and so forth, but then now also releasing covers, original music videos, but then also performing and touring as well, which is, like you mentioned, what you want to be more known for. And that also, in addition to building your audience, to then transition your audience into something that they're not as much accustomed to, that's another major feat in itself. to go over. So I mean, kudos for you for doing that. Can you talk about more about going backtrack for a second of okay, I know I need to build this.
Mhm.
What are the things that you put into place to help ensure that you are continuing to build up momentum?
So step one is consistency. So, like I was posting every day, multiple times a day. I became kind of obsessed with it, which I think happens to anyone if they're getting that much like dopamine. Like I'm checking my followers every day and it's going up and up and up. So I was like, okay, like I was super motivated to do it. These days, the motivation comes and goes. You kind of have to force yourself sometimes. But yeah, I was really motivated. So consistency, posting every day, creating a brand, something that, is unique but true to yourself and entertaining and exciting. Like we're entertainers, but still creating stuff that's of quality. So kind of developing my artistry and my online presence, like that was a really important step. Then another really important step was networking and which is like a super fancy business way of just saying making friends. Like I don't network, but that is technically what it is but I did it online, like so just meeting other musicians and collaborating with other musicians, as many as possible and not just like ones with a certain follower count, just like anyone who inspires me and whose music I love. And I still do that to this day. Like I do a lot of collaborating and again, the point of music for me is making music I love with people I love. So my second really big viral moment was the Wellerman sea shanty craze, and I duetted with Nathan Evans, who's now a friend. And I did Celtic music, which was my secret passion at Berkeley. I didn't even tell anyone until I started like a little Celtic band my last year there. But yeah, like so I started playing my little fiddle stuff over the sea shanty, and it exploded. And then I'd go to class one day and my professor's like showing us a BuzzFeed article about how sea shanties are the craze, and then there's my face.
Wow.
So it was really, really cool. So again, um, like collaboration was really important, and a lot of the people I was collaborating with at that time, we all kind of grew together, and it's really cool. And then translating that to live shows is really because if you think about like musicianship, it's kind of like these days it's like social media and online, and then it's like music that you're releasing, and then it's like live shows, and it's like the weird triple Venn diagram of artistry these days. I think in the past the social media wasn't as big of a factor, but live shows are so important because like most of the day I'm just alone in this room by myself making videos, and then I'm on my phone like messaging people, and like user 6782665 means nothing, there's no face attached to that username. So if they're liking all your posts, it's like it's nice and I just look at numbers all day. um but that's not enough for me because I'm not a social media influencer content creator first. I'm a musician first, and it's always been very important to me to be viewed that way. Because at first I was viewed as TikTok girl, and uh that's not like who I am. So I knew that I needed to establish some like musical integrity that I could feel good about. So then I pretty quickly, once I was releasing music, I decided to release music every single month for a year, and that was what I did in 2023. And released every single month for a year, and it was really good. Did a lot of collaborating, and then I translated that into touring, and so I was able to tour, and the tours sold out pretty quickly. It was another collaborative situation, and that's when I started getting to meet the fans and the real people, and people coming to meet and greets, and people selling out like the shows, and realizing like, wow, there's something really special here, and this is something that I want to pursue, and people are responsive to it, and people want to see their favorite online musicians in real life because we've been starved of that because of COVID and just the rise of technology. And so knowing that there was an audience for that was really special. And then in addition to that, I was able to also jump on tours with other artists that are heroes of mine. And that's nice too, because then you don't have to like do all the work. You get to just show up and play the show. And that was another really nice experience to have after years of planning and DIYing a tour for my own projects. So that's a really long answer to your question, but every piece of it is very important.
Every single part, and that's That's truly amazing. And okay, there's so many directions we can go with this. So first of all, I mean, that's amazing. So I was going to ask, so in the beginning when you're doing touring, you did it all, you were doing all the booking and everything like that yourself.
Yeah, it was a
Wow.
lot. No agents would believed in us at the time because there was no track record. So when you're touring, a lot of the time you have to kind of start out on your own and see if they
Hmm.
want to, like agents want to see if you can pull ticket sales, you know?
Yeah.
And then once you're able to say like, hey, I've done this many ticket sales in these regions, then you can pitch that to an agency, and then they're like, oh, okay, we believe that. Because it was kind
Right.
of backwards. Like I had a big following, and then it's like, how do we get those people to come to the shows? But normally you're playing shows to grow a big following, you know? So it was a little bit unprecedented. And so a lot of agents didn't want to take a chance until finally one did. And then it's way easier to play a tour if you have someone else booking it for you, let me tell you.
Oh, 100%. I'm very much well aware of that. And yeah, it's an interesting case because booking agents, you're right, is that they want to see that you had touring history behind there because they're taking that risk, right? Because if they're doing
Exactly.
the work to get you the shows, that's how they're getting their compensation. So they have to make sure that the risk is mitigated where you are going to be bringing an audience. So without that tour
Yeah.
history, they have no idea what you actually going to bring in. And then it kind of changed a little bit with social media. I find it now is interesting. It's kind of balancing out a little bit where you need a little bit of both now, at least from my personal experience, because
Yeah.
they also seem to where, social media numbers doesn't necessarily always translate into people at shows. So
Yes.
congratulations on you for selling out on tour because again, not easy to do. And that also is a tough transition to make is again, taking your fans online and then showing them what you're capable of doing and get them excited enough to come and actually see you perform live.
Thank you. It was cool, and again, it was a collaboration among a couple of us different artists, and so that helped as well to
Mm-hmm.
kind of combine forces. And because it is risky. Like if you're just starting out, you have so much risk of failure, and it's expensive. Like touring is really freaking
Yeah.
expensive.
I
So
like to
you're
joke. I like to joke that if you come back from a tour breaking even, you did very well, especially for your first
yeah,
couple of tour runs. And so,
seriously.
because that's the thing is that, yeah, you're going on the road. It is an investment. And most likely you're going to, even if you did it on the cheap, like the cheapest, lodging, your cheapest travel possible, all those different things like eat at Taco Bell not saying you should, but eating at like Taco Bell every single day, it's still a lot of expenses to be involved with for what you're going to get paid at venues unless again you have that proven history and or you have that representation which usually go hand in hand.
100%. And you need a team. And now I've learned that after kind of somehow accidentally having like a successful tour based on like I think smart decisions that we made, but also uninformed decisions that we made, just having never done it before. So like now I understand why you bring a much bigger team on the road than like what we had, because then it makes a much smoother environment when like all the jobs that need to be done can be dispersed. And we had such an incredible team of people who were all juggling like a million things at once, and it was just so insane. So you bring more people, but then you need to house and feed everyone and pay everyone, and so it racks up the expenses. And like no wonder these tours like are so expensive. Like even huge artists that
Mm-hmm.
like many that you know and love, they're not making a lot of money on their tours, and that was a shock to me to find out. So it's really when the fans show up and when they buy merch and come to the meet and greets, like that's really what kind of helps the artists the most.
I want to go back to the collaboration part because that also, like you mentioned, helps immensely, especially those who have already been on tour. They have that proven track record to you to essentially join helps immensely because then they're taking less of a risk to have you on board, right? And then this way you are able to build your tour history off of that front because you're on somebody else's tour.
Hmm.
Also, the credibility, right? Saying, "Oh yeah,
Hmm.
I went on tour with so and so." Well, that so and so gave you basically that vouch for you, saying you are an incredible performer. You draw a crowd. You do a great job. That's going to make it a lot more easier for others to take a chance on you because of the fact that somebody else has vouched for you.
Yeah, 100%. I've done a lot of collaborative tours where it's like not my show, it's someone else's tour, and I just hop on as the featured violinist. And it's really fun. Like I actually really love those ones as well. Cause kind of what I was saying before, like when it's your project and your name's on the marquee, like even if you're doing it with other people, it's so much work because you're booking everything, you're making all the decisions, you're buying all the posters and doing
Hmm.
like it's you put so much work into it and you're taking on 100% of the risk. You also are, if it's successful, you get like it pays way better, but the amount of work it takes is so intense. And so I also had some really incredible experiences just hopping onto other people's big tours. The biggest one I did was with Two Steps from Hell, uh, who is like my actual like favorite band. Um, and since I was young, like they're one of the bands that inspired me to pursue music. They do all of the epic movie music for like trailers and stuff. So like a lot of people haven't necessarily heard of them, but you've definitely heard their music. But I've been like a mega fan of theirs since I was really young. So when I got the call to do that tour, uh, it was this unbelievable dream come true. And it was really cool because it's such a huge production, like much bigger than anything that I was, you know, booking myself in the US. Oh, the whole tour was in Europe, and it was arenas, so it's like thousands of people every night. Our very first show was at Wacken, which is one of the big German music festivals, just outside of Hamburg. And so I went, and it's like my first show with them. Fire, 80,000 people. My favorite band. They wanted me there to help kind of make it more metal because they're very like orchestral, epic music. And then they were kind of transitioning into this metal world with Wacken, and I just felt so alive and free and like myself. Like that was the best day of my entire life. Like I've never had a better day than that. And it was just so special, and the people were amazing. Like I'm still friends with all the people on that project. Like to this day, I still work with the composers. It was just so special. And then we toured Europe, and it was arenas and like incredible hotels and beautiful bus and like really nice venues and catering and Europe. And I was like, oh, I can get used to this. And like I was just like the side like hired auxiliary musician. Like I was still featured in the band, but I wasn't putting up any risk for the tour. So like I just got to hang out, go on stage. It was a job. Like I was hired for a job, you know? It wasn't like it was my band.
So if you don't mind me asking, how did that come about? Did you reach out to them? Did they reach out to you?
They found me on Instagram. And so
Wow.
this is why I tell people you need to put yourself out there, because if I hadn't done any of the social media stuff, I literally wouldn't have any of the opportunities that I've had over the last few years. Like I Thomas, who's one of the composers of Two Steps from Hell, he's a friend and amazing, incredible musician, and I think he's the one that found me like from some Instagram reel I made. Like, and I think it was through a collaboration I did with my very dear friend Tina Guo, who's an incredible cello player. She plays with Hans Zimmer, and she's just like the best ever. And she's one of my really big early inspirations. And so I was like doing a bunch of collaborations with her, and then I think just like through the because she's really in big in the film world, and so I think just in doing all my social media stuff, they all found me, and now here I am. So again, like it ties back to everything I was saying before, like collaborating, putting yourself out there, developing a social media presence, it all can lead to live shows, and then you have your beautiful little triangle of musicianship in the modern day.
That's amazing. And I totally agree with you. If you don't put yourself out there, you never know what kind of possibilities you'll be missing out on. I know, for example, I know too you collaborate with Lindsey Sterling and Dragon Force
Mhm.
as well. I mean, these are like big names, and shout out to Herman, because Herman was actually one of my very first guests on my podcast. So just to show you, you never know if you don't take a chance or put yourself
Yeah,
out there.
Herman's the
And
best.
oh, he's a sweetheart of a guy,
He's so nice.
and I nerded out with him. It was so funny. He's like a huge gaming guy too, so we
Yeah,
were nerding out ahead of time. It was a fun conversation, and I think
he's so cool.
he was like episode I think 3 or 4 of my podcast, like super early on, and super nice guy, and but again, you don't know, right, until
Yeah,
you either reach out or you put yourself out there and let people know what you're up to, and if people really like what you're doing, they're going to reach back. They'll contact you. I mean, that's happened
Yeah.
to me a couple of times. And I got some really amazing guests because of the fact that I did a podcast. And the same thing with you, right? Is that if you didn't put yourself out there, didn't diversify and having on multiple platforms or anything along those lines, you wouldn't have toured Europe with your favorite band.
Yeah, it's crazy. And that year, I collaborated with every single artist that ever first inspired me, which was Two Steps from Hell, Tina Guo, Lindsey Sterling, Taylor Davis, and that was all within the month of August of 2023.
That was all in August?
Yeah, it was
That's
insane.
crazy.
It was a pretty crazy year. Like 2023 was my best year. But yeah, but it all came from like healing my brain and then putting myself out there and being true to myself as an artist, um and also being like a nice person. And all of the people that I got to collaborate with are like very lovely people, so it also just created like genuine friendships. Like even if I wasn't making music with them, I would just be like best friends with them because they're all such incredible people. So it was good, but it all came from like putting myself out there. And you're right, on many platforms, because people at my meet and greets show up and they're like, oh, I found you on YouTube, I found you on Facebook, I found you on Threads, I found you on Reddit. Like there's just so many random ways that people find you. So like if you only put all your eggs in one basket, like TikTok or whatever, you're missing out on an opportunity to really grow somewhere else and open yourself up to a whole different market of people, which is important because Facebook and YouTube is where my older audience is, and they're the ones that usually can afford the tickets to the shows. And TikTok is where my younger audience is, like kids and stuff. But TikTok's where all the metalheads are, shockingly. And so it's just, if I didn't post everywhere, I wouldn't have access to all these different demographics,
One of the things you also talked about quite a bit is mental health and the importance of self-care. And I know that you worked with the American Foundation for suicide prevention, also mental health awareness in general too. So is that incorporated into the work that you do? Can you talk a little bit more about the importance of both of those aspects to you?
So this came about because I was releasing a cover of the Power Rangers theme. And I was releasing it in November 2022. And that is when Jason David Frank, one of the actors from Power Rangers, passed away from suicide. And I have lost people from suicide in the past as well. And so it like really hit very close to home for me. And so I knew that and I was about to release this track like the week after his passing. And so I ended up kind of doing a memorial tribute to him when I released it, and I donated a bunch of the streaming revenue, and I still donate the streaming revenue to like a mental health organization, which happened to be AFSP. And then I ended up getting invited to perform at a Comic-Con, and a bunch of the actors from Power Rangers were there, and JDF's daughter Jenna was there, and I got to perform Power Rangers and Go Green Ranger as a tribute to her dad for her, and now she's a friend. And AFSP was also there, so I got to work with them. And then with my touring that we did, and the person I was touring with also cared a lot about mental health, and so it became like a big focus of the shows. And so we ended up raising like a lot of money for AFSP and another organization called To Write Love on Her Arms, which deals with mental health, a lot of different things that they have.
They are a fantastic organization. I've also had them on as well, and it's a wonderful, wonderful organization.
Well, if whoever's listening to this, go check out that episode.
Yeah, please go check them out. Yes. In general, you don't have to listen to the episode, but definitely take a look at that organization. They are incredible people.
It's important, and when you have a platform, I feel like you have a responsibility to advocate about things, and it's hard because there's so many things that I would love to advocate about, and this is one that I think is very universal because everyone has been impacted by suicide in some way, and so when touring, like people would share these stories with me that were so like devastating but also relatable because I'd been through similar experiences. And it's like the kind of thing where everyone in the room like just goes silent because everyone like is thinking about someone that they've lost or someone whose loss impacted them. So it's something that I still work very actively towards, even when I don't post about it. Like I still work with the organizations, I donate money, and like again the Power Rangers streaming revenue I donate. And but the other really big thing is just advocacy and talking about it openly, because like suicide is a word that I used to really stray away from because I was worried it might be triggering, or it was triggering for me. And so then I ended up meeting with AFSP and talking with them about like how to responsibly advocate, especially in the space that I'm in. And they said the most important thing is to kind of reduce the stigma about it and talk about it more openly, because only when we can talk about it openly are we able to have the conversations that are necessary in order to actually help people. And there's such a stigma about mental health, for everyone, but you know, with men's mental health especially, like I think, I don't know, you know, JDF's exact situation, but it's something that is talked about so infrequently, and it's so stigmatized. And so for men and women and everyone in between, it's just something that is so incredibly important to be able to like have those conversations. So in conclusion, mental health support is something that is a very big part of my artistry, and I don't think it's worth it to live life as an artist without talking about a cause that's important to you, because that's why we're here on this earth, is to help each other and to love each other, and to spread love and to help people and to make music that we love with people that we love. And that's my speech about mental health and why I care about it.
Well, we can start wrapping things up here. I don't want to take too much of your time, so I do have a couple of fun questions for you.
Yay.
First question I have for you is, what was the very first concert that you ever went to?
Oh no. Okay. Do you want like the real answer, or do you want the cool answer?
No, I want the real answer. You can give a cool answer too if you want, but I want the real answer first.
Okay, the first concert I ever went to was Panic at the Disco, but I didn't stay for Panic at the Disco because I only went for one of the openers that I loved, and they're called Bad Sons. And so I
Okay.
went to like this huge concert, and it was like 3 or 4 p.m. And I stayed for Bad Sons half-hour set, and then I left and didn't stay for Panic at the Disco. And then I became a mega Panic at the Disco fan like 2 years later, and
That's
I
so
have many
funny.
regrets.
Have you seen them live
Um,
since then?
No, and now I
Oh
don't like.
no.
I know,
Okay.
and Brendan like blew his voice out, so like I don't even know
Nah.
how much live stuff they do. So I really missed out. So then my first like real official concert was Fall Out Boy, and Wiz Khalifa. It was a really funny night.
Oh my goodness. I went to
Did you go to
that
that?
exact tour. Yes. I
The
went to
Boys
the
of
one.
Summer tour.
Yes, I went to that one. It was actually in Pennsylvania. There's a theme park there called Hershey Park, and they have the arena
Yeah,
right by there. I forgot what it's called, but yeah, I went with some family out there, and we went to see FOB as well as Wiz Khalifa. That was a great show too.
it was such a good show. So that's like my first real official concert that wasn't just me missing out on Panic!
I'm still counting the first one. That's still a cool story. I like
It's
it.
really funny. I think
It's
it's
really
very cute. Like
funny.
I don't like concerts because I get really overstimulated. Like I only like to
Mm,
be on the stage or like far away from all the people. So that's why I
same
didn't
here.
stay the whole time.
I'm the same way, and honestly, I feel because I've been to countless shows at this point in time, especially
Yeah.
my background in the music industry. So
Yeah.
I find that I've even beforehand, because I'm naturally an introvert, so beforehand I
Mhm.
was always uncomfortable being in a middle of a crowd. But
Yeah.
especially since the pandemic, I really get anxious. I do get the feeling of anxiety when I'm with a crowd of people.
Yeah.
So I try to, same thing. It's like I try to be behind everyone else, or I'm behind the scenes. I'm working behind the
Yeah.
scenes or something like that. So it's usually one or the other I prefer now. I
Yeah.
usually try to avoid being in like a huge crowd of people if I can prevent it.
Yeah. It's super stressful. I like went to this concert once on Halloween, and there was a guy behind me that was like dressed in this huge costume, and he was like hitting me with it all night and like spilling his beer all over me all night.
Oh,
And
jeez.
I was like, it was worth it because it was like a really good show. It was like Breaking Benjamin, Shine Down, and Nothing More. It was the best show ever.
Okay,
And they were
that's a
dressed
good
in
lineup.
Halloween costumes. But I was
Okay,
like, I can't believe this like dude who's dressed as a breathalyzer test is like spilling his beer on me right now.
that's
It was
ironic.
so
Oh wow,
annoying.
that is epic actually.
It's really funny.
You mentioned like so many great artists, but is there like a go-to artist or even a song that you're liking right now?
Oh my god, well the Grammys just happened, so
Yeah.
now I'm in like pop girly mode and
Mm,
because I always loved, like Chappell Roan and Sabrina Carpenter, but like I've been listening to Doechii so much because she won Best Rap Album and she's
mm,
incredible. This is like not my usual like music that I listen to. I usually am listening to like metal. So but the Grammys were so good, so I'm like in
yeah.
pop mode. The artist that I listen to all the time is Kim Dracula.
Mm,
And they are, it's like, I don't know how to describe it, like ADHD metal. Like it's unlike anything I've ever heard before. But they kind of blew up on TikTok as well. So like that's my go-to artist. And like Rammstein is my favorite music. So those are kind of my number ones. But yeah, right now it's like pop, like Charlie XCX and Doechii is what I'm listening to because of the
that's great.
Grammys.
I love it. If you're only able to give one piece of advice to a fellow musician, what would that one piece of advice be?
Um, oh my gosh, because I have so many pieces of advice that I would like to give people. Honestly, the advice that I would like to give, because everyone tells you like practice and don't give up and be consistent, but like I think the most important advice is be nice to people and prioritize kindness and integrity over everything else. um, because this industry is filled with a lot of unique characters, and not everyone has the best interests of others in mind. And I think the most important thing is to be a good person and, take care of the people that are there for you and that are loyal to you, and, compensate the people that you work with. Even if you can't afford it monetarily, compensate them in some other way. Um, Food or love or a trade, like anything. Make the people that you work with feel cared about genuinely. Because if you don't, then it's a very lonely life. Uh, and just be a good person and give back when give back always be a good person, but especially if someone is helping you. um give back to them and uplift everyone, because there is truly enough space for everyone in this industry, and it doesn't feel like it, but there is. And your success is not diminished by someone else's success. So that's the advice that I give these days. It used to be like make a lot of content every day, but now I've learned that the more important thing is maintaining strong personal relationships, because that's again the purpose of life. uh, that's what I think.
Well, I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much, Mia, for being on the podcast. It's been truly an honor, and wish you the best of luck on everything going ahead. I only see you going up from here. So congratulations on everything, and thank you so much again. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful.
Thank you so much for listening to Creatives Prevail. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with others or leave us a review. They are an immense help. Now go out there and make something happen.